Okay, cool.
All right. Cool. So this is Alex Holt right here, graduated in 2014. I actually just met Alex just now. I don't know him at all. He didn't take class with me, but somebody else reached out to you, another alumni, right?
Exactly.
It's great, actually. It's like I'm not the only person who has. But Alex comes to us. He did his undergrad here at Cal Poly, right? So forestry and natural resource management from Cal Poly, and you went to USC and got your master's degree, right? And that was what was that? Graphic Information Science and Technology. Cool. I've been wanting to talk a little bit about that master's program because a lot of students who come back to me and are like, I want to do a master's program. And I'm like, okay, well, you can go to the one like Long Beach State and it's like pretty cheap, or you can go to the one at SC and it's like pretty expensive, but I think you get like very different things out of them. So if anyone's considering a master's degree, I'd like to actually have that conversation. So Alex, you worked at City of Irvine, you worked at Los Angeles County, and now you work here in the county, right? In Floyd County. Let's all give Alex a little round of applause. We're going to try and go over some of his jobs and talk to us today. So thanks for coming, Alex.
Sure.
Let's take it away.
So hi everybody. Yeah, my name's Alex Holt, and I graduated Cal Poly in 2014. So yeah, I guess I'll start just a little bit more about me. So when I first graduated school, I was a utility forester. I was a contractor for PG&E. I was sort of out in the field and sort of doing more sort of mobile sort of map stuff and doing a lot of sort of vegetation work. So I was looking at trees and seeing what trees are going in the power lines. And I was also doing a little bit of gas work too, but my first sort of real job, like dealing with maps and data and sort of data collection, that sort of thing. And then my next job, I worked in the private sector at a company called Mobility. We were doing telecommunication infrastructure, and we were basically putting little cell towers along roads. And it was a major site selection process. And so those that are unfamiliar, site selection is where you're choosing specific locations to put things. So you take a bunch of data, put it on a map, and then you use that data to select a point. And so we were using a bunch of like zoning and sort of zoning files and all different data and road data and trying to see where all the right of way is, which is sort of where you can put utilities, and then it was a project across the entire country. We were putting little cell towers everywhere, basically. And then I worked at Los Angeles County as a GIS analyst. I worked at the Register Recorder office, and I mostly worked on elections. So dealing with sort of large databases with sort of, I think there's 8 million registered voters in Los Angeles County. So dealing with where they're at and trying to locate where their nearest voting center is, sort of doing those types of analysis. And then again, I was a senior analyst a senior GIS analyst at the City of Irvine. And sort of that's what I'm going to show you about right now. So, and then currently I'm a systems administrator, a GIS system administrator in San Luis Obispo County, and I mostly work on their infrastructure right now. But yeah, here, I'll show you some of the work I did at the City of Irvine. So this web application is, it's for the Great Park. It's this sort of really large, I think I don't know, I forget how many acres it is, but it's massive. It's like 10 square miles, and it's a huge, here you can see, it's like a huge piece of the city. So in this application is kind of cool. So it's on top of OpenStreetMaps, which is like an open source base map. I'm not sure if you guys have used it or not, but any user can go in there and sort of manipulate the data and keep it really accurate. One of the big problems with the Great Park, it's been in development over the last 2 decades, and it's been sort of really political, and people have wanted to put different things. As you can see, there's like 20 soccer fields, and there's a giant stadium and a bunch of baseball fields and stadiums, and they have a golf course, and they're putting like a water park there and all this stuff. And so being able to map it accurately with like Google Maps and Apple Maps, they weren't really able to keep up to date. And so we had to set up sort of our own data sets, and using open source data was one way for us to map out everything. So when people went there, they could know where to go and how to get around it. So like, let's say, your child had a soccer game at one of the fields and you need to know where to park and that sort of thing. If you clicked on Google Maps, that wouldn't be there. So it is now, we eventually got it in there, but so for a few years that people had to rely on our own maps. And so we'd send this out to everyone, and they'd be able to sort of click on different locations and we integrated it into Google, and you could click on locations and get walking directions around. It's not gonna, sorry, we're way far away from there, but you could click on it and get driving directions and then put in your location. Let's say you're coming from over here, and it could drive you around. And this is all done through Google, but and this web application is built on ArcGIS Experience Builder. It's like a web application template where you can just go in there, and it's pretty user friendly and plug and play. I'm not sure if you guys have used it or not, but you can basically do your data in your desktop software and then publish the data online. And then you basically can just go through this template and it'll have the data on there, and you can do all these cool things on it. This is a data feed in the corner. So this is all like the newest events that are happening at the city. And then there's a little slideshow that goes through, tells you a little bit about sort of the major attractions. And then again, it's on this open source base map. So it has all the most up-to-date data that we sort of have priority to make data edits on. And then we also took pictures all over the park. So you can click on it and there's 3D pictures everywhere that we took. So it's just a good way for the community to be able to understand what's going on there and being able to navigate and get around it. So it's just kind of something, it wasn't terribly difficult. It was just getting all the data in there and making it sort of look nice and intuitive and getting it to work on mobile device as well and that sort of thing. So I'm going to show you a few other, let's see, applications. So this is our main like website, hub site. So anybody can feel free, you can go to this landing-cityofirvine.hub, this site, and these are all the applications that we have available to the public. So you can kind of see what a local municipality does with GIS. They do a lot of internal stuff too, especially like in regards to parcels and land. Like they're the people, the city and the county, or they manage all the different, if you want to see your property boundaries or any information about sort of any of the land and sort of any of the assets that the city owns or that the county manages, that's something that GIS administers. And so yeah, this is a website of some of the stuff, some cool, we have a bunch of PDF maps too, and it's kind of, yeah, just something to look at. And then these are some other cool web applications that I did. These applications are sort of cool because I took data that was freely available. This one's from US Forest Service data. Using this, they have this program called iTree, and you're able to take you're able to look, this is on the left is canopy cover. So that's like all the trees, how much they cover the ground. The darker the shade, the more trees they cover, or the more ground is covered. And then when you slide it over, this is tree height, but we also, so this is, you can see where the highest trees are in the city. This city actually does have a lot of trees. So it's not that many tall trees, but it's somewhat dense, especially for Southern California. Maybe not so much compared to SLO, but you can see it's another cool thing is ladder fuel density. So this is where there's like potentially fire hazard areas, because this is where the area where there's more lower vegetation. So that's what fuel density is. So this is where it's like real dense and fires could get worse. Really bad fire up here 2 years ago, and we had to evacuate half the city. We evacuated, I think, about 100,000 people from down here, and we used GIS. We sent out locations to everybody to say if they were going to be evacuated or not. And the only way you could know if you were in the area to get evacuated was if your like sort of area was red. So it was these things called evacuation management zones. So this is available to the public, and they can sort of, this is just another way GIS is used, and you can find your location and see if you could evacuate or not, if you would need to evacuate. And then we also had it set up with this emergency alert system, so everyone would get text into, if you would get a text of that map and see their location and that sort of thing. And yeah, it was a cool thing because it ended up like the map ended up going on the news, and there was like a bunch of people's families trying to see if their other families should be evacuated, and it was getting like it got a few million hits that day, and it was hard to keep the website up when you're getting all that traffic. But luckily the way we set it up, it was just we set it up so in case there was viral traffic use or anything, we were able to sort of take all the bandwidth and all the hits, and it turned into sort of, it turned into a sort of a successful operation. Even though we had to evacuate everybody, nobody was harmed, and the police were able to manage all the situations, they were able to sort of manage the situation. And that's another cool thing that we sort of did. And then the last one we have I have like a little, this is just all the water. So sort of, I called it a water cycle assessment, but you can see where all the water drains to and where there's more rainfall interception. And these were other data sources that I just pulled. So, I mean, for GIS, there's a lot of stuff online available, especially from like county government agencies, federal government agencies, local municipalities that you can use to do really cool stuff. You don't necessarily need to collect all the data yourself, even though that's getting a lot easier with sort of like IoT devices and smart sensors, but there's also a lot of freely available data. And then, yeah, so currently I work at the county, at San Luis Obispo County, and yeah, and I mostly just administer all the databases and all the servers. We have a bunch of servers that host all our GIS data, and sort of, yeah, they require a lot of maintenance and just keeping everything up to date. And like, if people need new tools and just sort of, that's what a system administrator does. He just kind of curates all the infrastructure, and then make sure all the systems are up to date and all the privileges. And that stuff's not as, doesn't look as cool as this, but it's important. So yeah, I think that was sort of, oh, you wanted to talk, oh yeah, and then, so for my USC program, yeah, I studied geographical information science and technology, and I focused on web application development. And the reason why I chose that program was that program at the time was mostly online, which was unusual and I started it in 2016. So all the other programs required to be in person. So I did take a few classes on campus, but I was able to take most of the program remotely. And then the sort of concentration that I focused on, sort of web application development, was something that I was really interested in. And I just really liked the faculty. And it turned into a really good program for me, because I was able to open up new sort of new opportunities. And yeah, and I had some good networking things, and probably, yeah, got some work through it, and I've done some consulting with them. And yeah, it was a great program. So, but yeah, solid program too. I know a lot of people that went there. I know they're more doing, sort of all the programs are more geared towards online. I know, I think Penn State has a really big world-class program that's really awesome too. And I know there's a few programs in like Australia and that sort of thing. So it's just sort of seeing what meets your needs. Like, yeah, and figuring out some are, yeah, the costs on everything. Some are going to be more expensive, but there's grants and that sort of thing. So you can get it pretty manageable. I was working at the time, so my work like paid for most of it. So that was pretty sweet. So it just worked for me. But I think if I was to give honest advice, it doesn't really matter. It's all about what you make it. So if you like take it seriously and want to get good grades and learn a lot, like, or if you just kind of want to get a degree, like, there's always going to be those types of people as well. So you kind of just want to, just get the most out of, your opportunities and that sort of thing. So yeah, I really enjoyed the program. It had a good thesis program. So my thesis, it got published and sort of helped elevate me and push me harder than I sort of would have normally. So that was really nice. Actually, like, it was frustrating to go through. It's like, it was tough, but in the end of the day, it's like something really like that I could talk about, something that I was proud of, and sort of that sort of thing, sort of like how Poly does, right? So you're always like getting pushed, and sometimes when you're going through it, it can be hard, but at the end of the day, it's worthwhile. So. But yeah. Oh, sure. So my thesis, I was working at Los Angeles County at the time. So, well, actually, I had two theses. I originally had I was doing a thesis on semiconductor supply chains, and I got sort of buried, and it was just kind of too much work, and it was just really tough. It was tough to get the data, and that was something I was really interested in, and so I kind of had to pivot like 6 months into my thesis, and like, so I switched to something more related to my work to make it a little bit more manageable. Yeah, so my thesis was about Los Angeles County and their vote centers. So they were it was another site selection process where they were relocating where people could vote, all their voting locations, and they were changing the name from polling locations, where there was 4,000 polling locations, to 1,000 vote centers. And basically, like, instead of just having to go to a specific place and on a specific date to vote in LA County, there's like a 10-day window and you can vote anywhere. So they were relocating, trying to make sure that they're more sort of distributed, so it's more fair for everyone to access voting. So it's not as difficult. So anyone, just to get a higher turnout. Everything's about higher turnout. So there was all these sort of rules, and California had all these laws in place trying to get all the different jurisdictions, all the different counties to make voting sort of more equitable. And so yeah, I helped out and did the GIS work for I created some web applications for decision makers where they could like click on a specific location and they could see how many people lived within a specific drive time or specific walk time. They could like click on like a church or a school and they could see there's 50,000 people that live within a 5-minute drive time radius of this, or, whatever, there's, within 10 minutes of walking, there's whatever, 5,000 people. So it was something that turned out really cool and was useful, and it helped we worked with a contractor to be able to put it in place. So my whole thesis was just about that whole project and sort of developing the web application and going through those, doing a lot of database work, like being able to go through all the registered voters in Los Angeles County and being able to identify like how many people of certain age particular areas. You could find an area that was sort of more older people and make sure that the vote center that they chose had the proper accommodations. So each of the different potential sites, they'd have all the accommodations, and it was a lot of manual work, but just having all those tools, and especially GIS, definitely was important and helped with its success. It also helps for like viability too. If people are like, why did you choose this one? And then you have data to back it up, and being like, there's more people that live within this location, and there's already another vote center within X proximity. So it helped justify, because it got really political when they'd go to like town halls and everyone's like, why is this here, not at the school next to my house, or whatever. So it was a really difficult process. So just having tools and data to back it up and have sort of more sort of logical decisions was something that was really important for it.
Great. Sounds like the semiconductor supply chain might be what you're.
Yeah, I should have. That was 2017. Yeah, I should have done well with that one. Yeah.
Let's open up the students. So, do you have any questions for Alex?
What got you into school?
So my initial interest was, well, when I took my first job out of school, and I was a consulting utility forester, and I was in the field. It was really beautiful. I worked in the Monterey area, was outside all the time. But I was doing a lot of data work too, and I just kind of liked the data work itself. And there's just much more opportunity. I always wanted to work outside. That was always like my goal in life. But like, I realized that when I was out in the field, and I could see like what my career potential was staying in that sort of that specific career it just was sort of a little pigeonholed. And like I wanted to, and it was hard to get to higher levels and sort of advance your career. So I knew I probably need to pivot. And I've always liked GIS. I had Dr. Yoon as my professor, and I did a lot of work for him, and it was something that I always really enjoyed. So getting my first real GIS job, so my first GIS job, I was a GIS coordinator at that mobility company, at that public telecommunications infrastructure company. And so they were putting a bunch of cell towers in the right of way, and I was already working in the right of way doing sort of GIS related work. So that's the reason why I got that job. And it turned out to be a really good job. It was sort of a startup environment, and it was funded by this big sort of conglomerate called SoftBank. So it's like it turned into this really cool position, and like kind of started, I was doing cool outdoor work, and then kind of led me to a better job. Then I got to grad school, and sort of, it was just a better career opportunities, and just more interesting with, just much more scalable. And so that was sort of it. And I still really like it. I just like GIS. There's so much stuff you can do. So like at the city of Irvine, I was doing we're doing evacuations and was mapping parks, and we had a big drone program and like doing 3D mapping. And it's kind of the technology's has become a lot easier to use. So it's enabling you to do a lot of work really quickly. So the initial jobs can be kind of tedious. You have to do a lot of data entry, and that was my first job. You know, I was in the field collecting data, and before that, I was like digitizing, so just like drawing polygons and that sort of thing. But it is important to understand sort of how the basics of everything works. Like when you're learning like a science or whatever it is, and you're like, why am I learning this? And then all of a sudden you start doing more applicable things, and it becomes really cool. And it's sort of the sky's the limit, sort of on your capabilities and how much you want to learn. Like maybe you do like doing the database work and data entry and technician work, and there's lots of good careers in that. Or maybe you like being an analyst and working on specific things and trying to solve different or tackle different things and come up with sort of unique ways to tackle sort of specific problems, which is kind of fun. And sort of rewarding when you're doing presentations and people are actually using products that you make. That's always a really good feeling. Or you can get more into the IT side of things, start working on databases and managing servers and sort of understanding that type of role, which opens up a whole nother set of sort of doors. So yeah, I think there's a lot of creativity to it, and yeah, and sort of it's a great field to be in. It's so cool. I've run in it, like sort of, yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I've met a lot of cool people.
You know, you had internship on
Yeah, so Irvine, we have two interns. The city of Irvine, we have two interns that are allowed to work 20 hours a week. So those positions open up. Yeah, I mean, when I was out there for 3 years, we had about 7 or 8 different interns. So those positions do open up. And those are, yeah, they're cool jobs. They pay, and yeah, you sort of get to work on a lot of this stuff, get to go out in the field and learn about all the different sort of data sets. I tried to teach my interns as much as I possibly could, and so I tried to make it valuable for them. So yeah, the city of Irvine has 2 interns. I'm not sure if any are open right now, but yeah, something to keep your eye open on. I know there's a lot of GIS internships sort of everywhere. It's sort of a good way for like employers to be able to have like a little bit of additional staff, but also like teach sort of students or kids their skills. And yeah, so the internships are normally, yeah, really good sort of good opportunities. I actually interned at Los Angeles County Fire when I was at Cal Poly, and I spent like 3 weeks with one of the GIS fire teams, and it was really cool. So yeah, I would definitely get internships because it's an amazing way to say you have experience too. So that's like the most important thing, and like especially in GIS field is like how much time of experience you have. So it's like the internship, you just work 20 hours a week and you're already building up like I have a year of experience, and you're working 20 hours a week, and you've been sort of you've done real work, you face real problems, and it's definitely something that's beneficial to employers. I know like the specialist or the analyst that we hired at Irvine when I left, he was an intern before. So he was an intern for like 2 years. So he just waited, and then he got a good full-time position. So there is opportunity there, and yeah, a lot of our interns have done pretty well and gotten good full-time jobs or jobs in places that they wanted to do, and were able to pivot. And yeah, so I definitely recommend, you probably need an internship in GIS to get started, sort of thing, or do some technician work, and then once you get through, sort of get some experience, then it's sort of everything opens up. So.
Other questions for Alex? Can students bother you for informational interviews?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, sure. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to, you can send me an email. I think I sent you.
Yep, I got your email.
Yeah,
you got your black, I'll give you an email.
Yeah, sure. So it's,
I got one question.
Sure, absolutely.
Let's say this person here is young Alex. What would you tell that person that you wish you would have known, like what wisdom have you gained that you would like to learn? Is there something that you wish you would have learned, maybe you wish you would have focused on, anything?
Well, I think the number one most important thing would be like, maybe don't be too worried about what you're going to do next, but try to keep your sort of eye, or your like what you like to do. That's more important than anything, sort of. Like you don't want to be stuck like doing something you don't want to do. So if you're like really or interested in something, don't be afraid to pursue it. And like don't be afraid to put yourself out there, or like reach out to people or communicate and that sort of thing. That's like the type of skills that are sort of more learned is just putting yourself into awkward situations or even doing presentations or going to networking events or taking an internship. Those are like how most doors are opened up. And then that's how you meet people, and maybe they'll be on your interview panel, or maybe you'll do a project that you don't really want to do, but that person, somebody, so you go out of your way and you just put in the extra effort or whatever it is. So most of the time, like opportunity and doors open in ways that you don't think. It's not. So yeah, just keep your mind open and pursue things that you enjoy and make sure you keep all your doors open, sort of thing. That's
Do you
important.
think that your USC master's degree helps you in networking? And it's something I tell people all the time. It's often not what you know, it's who you know, right? Like, and one of the things I've heard about that program is that it's like, it's really expensive.
Yeah,
You don't need to get to be able to pay for it.
yeah.
So like, it opens you up to that network of people and it can connect to people, right?
So, well, yeah, so I've had a lot of different job opportunities, and I've done some consulting work for one of the professors there. So yeah, it's helped a ton for that. And then I've met a lot of like people that write GIS textbooks, or like, so there is potential for like incredible networking opportunity. Now, for my specific career path, it probably hasn't helped me get any of my full-time jobs. Those are more just through the work that I did at each of my employers. But it helps on your resume too, to even just have a master's degree or whatever it is. So if it was from USC or some other school, I don't know if it particularly helps. Like I think it's all about your skills. So if I would have went maybe a program that wasn't as prestigious or cheaper, or whatever it was, like it just worked my hardest and like was able to show that on the resume. So so most of my skills that I've learned that have been like applicable, especially when I was doing open source stuff, is like using programs like Udemy and Coursera, and like that's where I learned like my core like sort of web development skills and that sort of thing. So a lot of this stuff, especially stuff that's like the newest technologies, it's like you can go get a $20 Udemy course and just burn through that real quick, and then go into an interview and have a little project, and then people are like, dang, like, so I think especially nowadays, like it was a little different then. I almost think even now it's like there's so much information and so many things to learn online. There's and it's a lot of it's free. So the degree shows competency, but having, especially for this stuff wasn't that difficult, but if you're doing like custom work and that sort of thing, or if you're working on working on databases or have any programming or that sort of thing, like being able to show projects that you've actually done the work, and that's what employers like, or people like the most. So yeah.
All right, any other questions? 2015.
Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah. All right. You mind if I share the recording with other people?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, you're done, man. I have another question. Why aren't there any cell towers up in Big Sur?
Oh, we failed the cell towers.
Yeah.
530 cell towers.
Yeah, I was just, because
they're pretty particular around that area.
they are. I mean, I was just considering how many people go through there. It feels like a big public safety hazard to not have like cell reception in a lot of those places.
Yeah, well, I think it's free. Yeah.
No, you'd have to put them like right on the road because there's terrain. Like it'd be really tough.
Go so far too,
Right.
all the curves and everything.
Totally. There's a lot of dead spots.
Cell towers line is
Get out.
bigger cell towers.
It depends a little more. Right.
That was good.
Yeah. A lot there. Okay, cool. All right, thanks, Alex.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.
Cool. All right, guys. So that was fun. Hopefully interesting to you. The next speaker will be at 12:30. Her name is Morgan Wilkie. She was literally in my class last quarter, I think. So she's like super new. Alex has got a little bit more experience under his belt, which is cool to see both. So I'm going to set an alarm so I do not forget. 12:30. Okay.
All right, so this week, we're done with labs. We're just working on projects. I'm not answering any lab questions. Everybody's got enough time. Hopefully, I think we'll have 30 kids, right? So it's all project stuff. Does that sound good? I'm just gonna go to hands in the order that I see them. So there's one here, then one there, then one here. Does that sound good? What's up? Huh?
What is it's like acres or kilometers? Make sure you know what it is. So if it's, yes, you don't need to normalize it. No, unless you're trying to show like, quarter font. Like that, that's where you do it. You're good about normalizing it. One thing you might think of doing is to go to this. You're gonna format all symbols. Right, so what you might do is animate that.
Can't find the colors that
You can show, you know, like.
That sounds.
Yeah. Let me just show you that like, this is Iowa. Yeah, and Oreo is more important there. Like in some ways, I think it's kind of good to show like, from the beginning, it's country, right? Not really, but it gives it like legal context. You know what I mean? That's good. And then, yeah, I want, you could take out the outline to just like make it. It just makes it so that in the smaller sensitive zone, the boundary is smaller. That's pretty much it. Yeah. Market, yeah, very nice. Okay. The joint down means that one thing is joined with another, right? But, well, what are you trying to join? You're trying to join, the farmer's market with the county that it's in? Yeah. Okay, so, right? So the county should be on this side of the street, and all information should be on this side of the street. Right, there's your counties, right? But you're gonna have multiple in counties, right? Yeah. And there are like multiple. Yeah. Right, and so the thing you only use is on county names and county six. Because you're having a bunch of like the counties, Jackson County, right? They're like in multiple states. What you do is you do a summary of like that column. That is the state field, and that will tally up every single farmer's market that's in that column. So you take that and you join that back into the county file based on the county.
Yes.
That's the joint column. So. Summary statistics, you're counting the county six as your case field. That's gonna give you an output for every county that has a farmer's market in it. It's gonna give you a number for how many there are. So, counting the number of farmer's markets in each county. And your county six is the case field, meaning that it does it for every county, not does the entire. So if you want to bring it up, you can bring it up. Just bring up something specific. And then you'll take that output table, because this flat table is not like a figure file, and you'll join it back together with the county based on the county tips, and then you'll be able to map the number of farmers markets per county. So once I do the summary statistics, it'll create like a table for me, and then join that back to your county based on the county tips. Join that back to this table. Is this the counties or is this the farmers market? This is the table join. I think this is the farmers. Yeah, and you want to join it back into the county. Because what you want is you want a one-to-one relationship with vaccination rate and farmers. Yeah, and so when you say county, is that the county in this guy? I think so. Open that up. Yeah, I don't have, because I don't have different regular counties. There is in the bot data, but you play. I think it's the same, but this is what you use to generate that you go ahead and use it. But this has.
You're going back the other side. No, because I was going. Yeah. You go for it all. Okay. You see the four corners are pretty strong on it. What state was used in both of those? What were the, what the 55 comments? Yeah. And then the reservations are their own polygons, right? Yeah. Okay. Like, what do you think is the best way to like show? I mean, no, like last. But so wait, like, when you have overlapping reservations, you have like different levels of reservations, or it's either just a reservation not. Right. That's if you're a reservation, not, right? Yeah, so, I don't know. That's the reservation that gets posted. So, yeah. But I just wanted to like, see if I can do it. But I'm not really sure how to show it. I think that's fine, okay. Yeah. You know what outline where the reservations are, because the union kind of muddles that a little bit, you're not really sure where the reservations or where the count is. So I would take that reservation file and like make it a hollow polygon with an outline. Yeah. But other than that, I think, yeah. Cool.
So,
Oh my.
I know. I'm trying to only see the points that are in that.
Okay,
I have one in mind.
super easy.
And I've done the same.
Yeah. Well, you don't necessarily even need to do it. Yeah. Well, you're trying to select the forest fires based on their location.
Yeah, and I'm learning, I only want to.
So start clicking.
There's so many things I could choose.
Okay, this is not something I pointed at, but this is click by attribute, right?
Yes.
So click by inclusion. Yeah, so start clicking here, but basically you can select all of those fires that are within those green polygons, and that's really what you want, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's your fires, right? Okay, so within the park. Yeah, you see that. And then click these, if you would, put the national park fires above, for the incidents or whatever. So you can see them. Okay, like zoom in and do a little like sanity check. Just make sure, so like that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so then you just go to your incidents, right click, go to data and export. Export that as its own thing. That's like national park fire incidents underscore whatever. I'm gonna go Aaron, other Aaron, and Liz. Yeah.
So, just looking at it, and all of my links wrote in
I know.
while I was on the.
Okay, well, let's find them again. Right click
And I've
on,
been trying to.
yeah,
And the problem
so,
is that it sends empty, but it's like. Find it.
you hit the refresh, and we'll refresh will down there. Uh-oh,
I don't know how to. And then,
can't fly here real fast, but you know that it's in there, right? It's supposed to be in
Yeah.
that approved pub.tv. Does that come from the internet, or where does that come from?
a lot of those are like. On Queensland.
Yeah.
It should be there. I mean, I
Yeah,
did it all,
this doesn't tell you anything.
but a lot of them are like layers behind, you know?
Open up a new section where you guys bro. I want you to like copy this path and try and just dump stuff in from here, just see if you can get it to read in the other one. It'll even show. Yeah, and then call me back over. Hey,
Um, So I'm,
Prop 4.
oh,
Or something.
I was trying to find it, but this is not what I was.
Okay, interesting.
I don't know why it's like doing that.
Oh, you mean like the projection is funky?
Yeah.
Yeah. So right click on map over on the left hand side. In your table of contents.
Oh.
Yeah, go to properties. Bottom. So you can change like the coordinate system for your whole thing. Coordinate system there. And then here's WJ84. I like Lubricator a lot. So if you just go to the search bar, it's just search for Lubricator. MER. Sorry. ERCATOR. Then under projected. Like that one, and then. A little better, right?
Yeah. So I have like the different levels of that.
Sure.
But then I wanted to see all of the things.
Finding them.
Yeah.
Did you look on Esri Business Analyst? I look on Esri Business Analyst. It's the Esri ESO. There you go. Yeah. Try searching here. So you're gonna have to sign in with your Cal Poly ID, but you should in theory be able to look up that and then export it as a web.
Okay.
So. Yeah, so you can do, it doesn't actually fully matter. So you can do joint count or you can do joint count. They're all wrong, right? And then you just want to sum them up.
How did it work?
Yeah.
Like not.
Your input table, and that's when you're showing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing you get out, open it up. Okay, so this has your county fifth, right? Every county gets a county fifth, no matter Wayne County or whatever, right? Frequency and joint activity. That's just the sum of how many farmers markets are in that county. This table is going back to the county now based on the county fifth. And then you'll have both total vaccination rate and farmers market in the same county.
And the frequency would be what I mean.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, the top one is, but that's all, the rest of it is there. It should be good. So either way, it's good. Right, if you right click on here. For the county, wherever the county, yeah, so then you go to join the row. Add a join it, that thing you created based on the county.
Oh,
Right.
right.
Find why it's not on the map, what it, you know, why. Yeah. I don't know why. Okay, I don't know why, but it's try that. Did that work for you? Anything show up? Okay, so.
Find the error online. I think the only one I can learn is the negative. I don't know, maybe this is. It says failed to connect the database. And then it says the other side on the old version. Maybe updated one. But I don't even know what it is.
So when you try to open a new Advanced Pro, nothing opens in that database,
Yeah,
right?
I
Is that on your OneDrive?
No, this is all stored on the.
On
On
this.
the.
So on the lab
remote,
computer?
yeah.
Which one?
It was.
The proof of document.
And then.
You made a new.
Yeah, and everything in it, some of it is like, data that I've taken in from like the 43, but a lot of it is the buffers that I use. So mostly what I can.
Okay, new idea. Take thing, zip it up, put it up in the OneDrive, download it, and then don't work on the remote computer, tell it on this computer, try opening it on this computer, which I think has a different version. Let's just troubleshoot. Well, then you can share it with me too. I can try and open it too.
abstract.
Okay. Who owns the land? So is, so that's the colors, like it's private, so like, and then, sorry, the number of damaged buildings. Oh, okay, got it. Right, right. So I think what we have to do, we have to pick like a unit of analysis, right? So there has to be like, well, all of these are falling into one of these polygons, those are polygons, the pastel kind of silicon layer, yeah. So what we could do is like see where all of the, we do a spatial join with all the points and where they are. But I think there'll be some of these that aren't actually on the lens, right? So we can do it like county. Or no, we just do it with another class. So, because what you're trying to show is like how many of the buildings were destroyed based on, right? So what we really want to do is do a spatial join with player points and din points, do a spatial join where din points of this part join or your
And then we just.
yeah, yeah.
And like, they were showing on screen, that we just like.
This will be the target points, your land ownership polygon, the join. And then what that's gonna tell you is it's gonna give you all the different points back. But at the end of the table, it'll tell you where it is. It'll just take this table and append it to the end of everything. You can see where it is, right? Then what we'll do is we'll run summary statistics
Yeah, I think.
based on the spatial join, and then we can count up, like, how many fire points were in.
Yeah, so why
how
don't we
many,
just,
you know, et cetera, right?
we have a document for.
So give that a shot, try the spatial join, like I just mentioned, then call me back, but that's the first step. Yeah. Kaylee, you doing all right?
Yeah.
Right. No, you're not. Uh-oh. Okay, yeah, so if it has those log files in it, it's open, it'll throw errors. I think you can get through it, or you can just save it and close it. And then, did I see like what it looks like? I have a question or? Yes, well, like a group video, or you can do it individually. Correct, yeah, exactly. You'll just kind of like walk up through the mountain. Why it's important. Yeah, like over here. Okay, good. Something under here? Yeah. That's right. I would say that out of the CSV, and then you can just bring it in. So go to file, say that. Cool. Let's say the. You know where it's going? You know where it's going? Well, that's cool. Right, now go to art.
If you want to, and
Now
that's.
tab. There you go. Your download. And then we'll do a little refresh. A little refresh.
I was. I'm also.
Yeah, right click on it, look it up, make sure everything looks right. Done it.
My question is how.
Or is it like Rio Grande National Park? What is it? Great. Yeah, cool. I've heard of that, but I didn't realize it was a national park that was like that. Yeah.
So my question is, how do we see the model?
Well, what are you trying to show in your map? Just how many fires are in each national park?
I just.
I mean, it's kind of hard to show the whole country at one time if you don't show a lot of detail, right?
Right.
You could show like regional maps, so you could have a little map of like Southwest, you know, or whatever you could, but.
My other map is the first time I ever. And I. So I just. So I. So I mean, you were. I've been talking to.
It's kind of like the Mountain West or something, there's a lot of like other ones, you know. Here's the thing, fire is an issue over here more than it is over there, right? Not to say they don't have them, but like, here's where it's more of a problem, so like. Yeah. I think get creative, if you need to do like a couple maps, that's different, like the zoom resolutions, that's fine, if you wanna show like state maps, or the Oregon map, or California map, that's fine. You know, the problem with the national parks is like, they're just not everywhere, they're, yeah, so.
So. Like. So for like that one.
We'll do like a hybrid.
I would ideally.
Sure.
So my one.
Yep.
Multiple maps.
Yep.
Separately or separately?
Either, yeah, so, I mean, you could have like one map, or like one map that has like multiple map panels in it, right? Or you can make multiple maps that are like. In this case, I think it actually makes sense to like. Zoom in on California, zoom in on the, you know, Southwest, zoom in on the Northwest, zoom in on like the Mountain West, and then like have like 4 separate maps or something, you know? With like one to like tie them all together or something like that. But yeah, you get kind of creative in how you show it, but yeah, like you're probably not gonna want to show like a big nature like that. So here's a. Okay. Okay. You know, just like the California shape off. Yeah, so like. Get out of the bottom there. Okay. So remember, a shape file is not a right? So go up one direction, the other fire down.
Yeah.
Yeah, are you pretty sure you exported the shape file? It may have been in the data. Also, you can just see it, you know, right, like, what is it right here?
I don't know. I mean, is that permanent? Probably.
You don't know where it is. Okay, so go to property. And, should be in your database there. Yeah, so you check on
Okay.
So it's not a shape file. Yeah, do that. Set one down in the row.
Yeah.
What is that?
I mean, we're gonna go a lot. So. We can figure out the edge, right, and what's going on, not this week.
Yeah, yeah.
And then.
But it's worse, it's there, it's functional. And now you know it is.
I mean, honestly.
That's the right way, data. And then just don't put them in a good.
Yeah.
Do what a file is.
Paragraphs.
Right.
I don't like that. Like.
Ooh, right.
I don't.
Okay, so here's the thing, this is a good thing. Right?
We also, but I.
One of the farmers markets out and. Or, right?
It's in here, it's fine.
Is that what the positive, like, R squared, 0.03, so not a very high. That spread is off. Not on the line.
And like why, so then it's like us.
You're, that's a high property, right?
We're like one big.
Are there other,
And then
these over there? Right, farmers market, then you think would.
that, and then we're.
So you would. Percent Republican, percent, something like that.
Yeah.
Would that R squared go up? Right, like, one of the questions you guys might be asking, is like,
We only have
that's
like
for
2
big.
minutes.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Less
Like,
than
I think
that.
everybody
Maybe
starts
less than
sort of doing-
They have to answer that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, this is interesting, but it's not like, I just really, that's okay. Yeah.
The election, point the election, or after.
Well, I mean, the outbreak of COVID is kind of March 2020, right? Well, then was the election in November of 2020?
I'm thinking, this is that. As we need to,
Right,
so there were more.
yeah. I do think so. The problem is that data is not directly reported by who died, we don't report if they're a Democrat or Republican. But
Like,
what they do is they aggregate the statistics at the county level. So you know the proportion of voters that are both Democrat and Republican, and you also know vaccination death rate. Yeah. Right, so that's the sort of, you don't make it at the individual level, you aggregate the count. Does that make sense? So, yeah. There is a correlation there, probably better the farmer's market, but it's still, you can take a look at it. Yes.
Oh, so I was trying to.
File, like, open file.
Okay.
So I joined. But then I did graduate.
So like big gaps or what? You're wondering about the gap?
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Does that just mean that there's no deaths in those counties? Click on the point itself. You don't need to select, they do a map select. When you do the join, there's a checkbox that says keep. Selected features or don't and keep. All right. And then. Yeah. All one word.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I'll see. Okay. There are days. Okay, so in theory, it should go to have showed up in your map. Show me how you did the join again.
I did, or, yeah.
So fifth and county fifth are different.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You know, the county. So the county is. Okay. So yeah, fifth. And fifth here is a combination of state and county, which are wrong, right?
Yeah,
So that's good.
it's the same as a.
Okay, let's just open that up real fast. Let's see the coronavirus COVID cases in the USA. Okay. We have tips in here. We do. All right. Let's look for Sam. Is this county joined right now? Is right click on county?
Yeah, I joined it.
Can you go to and join some way that. If that's not. It's possible that that didn't exist before, right? Because right now it's not joined to anything, and that county doesn't exist in the county. It's-
So I used to want.
the one part about there should have all the counties in it. Let's try adding it again. Go back to add data. feel like something has happened. Okay, so, all right, there you go. Okay. So this is right. Turn it off real fast. Okay, what was that? Was that 10 feet?
Yeah.
Okay, so click it back on and click right there. That one. That's it. Okay, now open it up, open up the table. Yep, there you go, and then. Summary. Maybe they have a different name. What about the fifth? 949,015. What's the fifth in the and got it. Yeah. The result. Type in Emory. ORY, I think. Okay, next one would be FID. So you can also look for it in, right now it's looking in FID.
Oh.
What you want is you want to look at it. Like, even if it's for forward. Directly. Go back to county. It was 49,050. 49015. Okay, so what are my looking? What is like county?
Yeah.
Ah. Well, wait a minute. So.
Yeah.
Actually looks pretty solid. I think what's happening is that we're joining something where maybe we're missing, like there's a name mismatch or something. But I think it had it. Did you create this or did somebody else create it? Go down in the fifth. Is it just like the top little bit? Like most of them do have it, right? So like go up again. Correctional institute, like are these like prisons or something? They're like you're falling outside of jurisdiction, like grab that on. Yeah. There's like prisons, like at least a couple of us.
Yeah.
And then yeah, like those are weird, right? Like they're a little off.
City.
They're area of Utah, those seem like all places.
Mm.
But let's just dig into the fifth a little bit more. So let's go look for that 49015. Just like if you just hit just do, there you go. So do 49015. Okay, so it doesn't exist in this one, right? It looks like. In other words, it's showing that full set, but that's why it's dropping out. It's just it's trying to find the thing it's not finding. You know? A little bit. Yeah, it's not there. That's curious, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so wait. These are points, right?
Yeah, there's one.
Totally. So right point on this So this is this table? Okay. So you can just like forget about this thing, okay, and do a spatial join with your counties, that's gonna give you a new thing, right, and then we'll just use that thing. Because I don't know what's up with this, I don't know who created it, but it obviously uses something. Okay, try this, the target features again is gonna be the same thing, coronavirus, whatever, yeah. And then, counties, right, that'll be your join features. So we'll call it something that makes sense, call it like, you know, the whole top business. Underscore FJ. FJ count, is that something like that to you? When this pops out, you're gonna want to run a summary statistic, right, based on your fits. And then you can join the output table back to your counting based on fits, and then hopefully we'll have a drop. Does that make sense? So you did it, right? You work. Okay, so this is the new thing, right? Right click on that. The attribute table. On the right hand side of the table is all of the stuff from this, all the table stuff from this. And it'll be repeated a number of times. Like we get a number of those points. Or are the points themselves? Are, okay, so it doesn't matter, but so somewhere in here is going to be this, right? Yeah. But it's gonna be like different from one to the other. That's okay. So now do summary statistics. Okay, that thing you just created is gonna be your input table. Output table. That has a name that makes sense to you. Name it. That or whatever else. Okay, so joint count would work. You could also just do the name. So you could just do you just count six. You do six. Do six one down the bottom. There you go. And not maximum you want. Then make fifth one the case field, meaning that it's not going to go for the entire country, it does individually. Very good. This is basically just saying if there's, and it should be pretty much a one-to-one thing, but like, yeah, if there's any duplicate or weird thing, figure it out. So now you got that, right? Open that up. Okay, so the 44, that were null, they didn't match up, or didn't have a zip code. That's probably true. We will look at the last table, probably true. So wait, I may have screwed this up. Wait, there's so much twos in there. That means that two records from here are in the same, have the same count. So I mean, like in theory, each one of these lines back to the stage of like county. Then in theory, it should be a one-line relationship. We can tell from what came out that there's some. Yeah, basically. But let's just do this instead. Since this is county and it has fifth one, you can just join it directly back to your county based on the fifth in counties and the fifth one in your table. And then you get all your staff information in that table too.
That's what I did.
We'll try it again. So right click on county. Go to join relate. Add a join. Input join field, that's going to be your fifth. Nope, that's there. This. And then for your join table field, let's go. I do the drop down to the join table field. No, that's when you go away. Yeah, no, you're right. You want that to be.
Yeah.
Change that to your join table. You want that to be. Okay.
This.
Uh,
This one I did from.
Oh, you did? Okay, so whatever the one we just did that we didn't schedule. Oh, that's the one. And then do the join table field, you drop down. And put this one down at the bottom. Keep all target pieces, keep that checked, so even the null one will pop up, hit OK. Okay, now turn the county back on. Okay, now visualize this based on whatever field you want that I'll show you later. That's the back. In theory, this should work. Now at least we learned to drop it, right? I think if you want to do. You got it. You want to do depth normalized by population. Wait, just drop that again. Drop that again. So you didn't expect it, right?
No, it was like when I originally did, if it's like, not there.
Just pop back up. Oh. Funny. So maybe those counties don't have data in the depth?
No, yeah, it is more necessarily with
Right, so go back to depth.
oh, yeah, you can like, but I'm still going to be able to do it.
Okay, so we know that this is Southwest Utah. Right? There we go, my Zoom ball. All right, so go into this, change it to something where we can see everything, select it and bring the table up, and then let's look at, hey, how's it going? Good, I see that, sorry. Very jarring, I know.
All right. Let's go look at the table for like those missing counties and let's just see if they are in fact blank. Oh, should have